How can AI have a big impact on a small business? That's what we're here to find out. I'm Baratunde Thurston, co creator and host of Life with Machines, a podcast about the human impact of artificial intelligence, which we launched in partnership with Lenovo. Now, I'm excited to host this special episode of the Lenovo Evolve Small AI Workshop series. And I'm joined by Lindsay Wrege, co founder of 321 Coffee. It's a Raleigh based, people focused coffee company dedicated to employing adults with intellectual and developmental disabilities. We're going to explore what that really means and how AI fits into their mission with some help from Lenovo. Lindsay, welcome.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me.
I have been all up and down the 321 Coffee social media. I have cried a few times at just how beautiful your mission is and the way you execute it.
Thank you.
One of the things that I love about 321 is that you say it's people-focused coffee. Can you just tell me a bit about your business and your mission?
Absolutely. So you hit on it a little bit in our introduction, but we founded with the goal of creating meaningful employment for our individuals with disabilities. So my connection to all of this dated back to when I was in elementary school. I switched schools, and my first friends were some girls that had disabilities. And so from a very young age, I just got immersed in this community of inclusion and accessibility. And I got to see how fantastic and driven and capable all of these people are. And as we grew older and got closer and closer to high school graduation, the disappointing reality that so many of them experienced when it came to high school graduation and really not having that what's next for them. There was not a lot of opportunities for higher education. There was not a lot of opportunities for employment. And they really lost this sense of community and this purpose of belonging. And so that was when we sort of had the light bulb moment of like, well, we could change that. Like it doesn't have to be this way. And so we founded to combat the statistic that 80% of adults with disabilities are unemployed. People focused coffee is really what we're built on. So we're here to leverage all different types of people in our community and find ways for them to contribute and thrive and grow. And it's just been such a fun journey to see it evolve in a lot of ways since we started.
What are some of the biggest successes of your business? And also, what have been some of the challenges of being a small business entrepreneur?
Totally. So starting with the challenge, which led to one of the successes. So our journey, we started 321 Coffee. I was 18 years old. I was a freshman in college.
Wha-
Uh,
What?
yeah, at the time I was studying, like I was pre-med. I wanted to become a doctor.
Okay.
Spoiler alert, I am not here today because of my medical accomplishments. But yeah, had like really an traditional introduction into the world of small business and entrepreneurship. But we navigated a lot of that. But the biggest challenge was I graduated college in 2021, which meant that our entire junior and senior year of college was COVID. And
Yeah.
COVID hit hardest on small businesses, the food and beverage industry, and people who are immunocompromised. We were all of these things. And that was terrifying, obviously, as well as a lot of the natural challenges that small businesses experience of just you don't have, endless capital to work with, and you don't have endless time and bandwidth and people to join your team, and the chicken and the egg of like, well, I want to grow, but then I need this infrastructure to support the growth, but I can't buy the infrastructure if the growth doesn't happen. All of that is very relevant to us. But sort of speaking to some of the successes that we've gotten to experience, it is so amazing to think back over the last 8 years of our growth and to think, I mean, we literally started with a folding table and a coffee maker that we bought from Target. Like that, and like storing cups and lids in our dorm room. Like that was where we started. And we have had people that joined the team on day one on those folding tables. They are still with us today.
Mm.
And it's so inspiring to think about when you bring people together and work hard and roll up your sleeves, you really can accomplish so much. And so we've now got, like by the numbers, we've got 5.5 locations. We roast our own coffee. We are expanding our roastery. That's been a huge partnership with Lenovo and the Lenovo Evolve Small program. There's been some incredible moments of like, we have a coffee cart. That's our 0.5 location. And last year it was booked to be on the RDU tarmac for the arrival of Air Force One. And like, we got to serve coffee to the Secret Service and we got to meet Jill Biden. Like, it was wild, right? So you have some of those professional milestones. There have also just been some really beautiful personal accomplishments that we've gotten to see from our team of what happens when they do have the opportunity to contribute and be a part of a team. The best story ever was one of our baristas was saving up to buy a TV. And, over time, he saving. He finally buys a TV and, he comes to work one day and he brings the power cord and the remote to show us like he bought the TV. And we're like so excited for him. The next day, he still brings the power cord. The next day, he brings the power cord. And we're like, hey, we believe you that like you bought this TV. Well, it turns out that he brings the power cord to work so that his family doesn't use it because it's his TV. Which I just love, right? So there's been so many of those stories too of just seeing like the pride that our team have been able to build for themselves and the lives that they've been able to create and the independence they've been able to foster because they have earned themselves meaningful employment.
What a great set of stories filled with a little bit of stress. The idea of serving the Secret Service, no thanks. I'm just gonna like, you guys can get your own coffee. I don't want to spill something on you and then end up, in questioning. There's when I think of artificial intelligence and coffee, my mind flashes to the airport where I see these kind of cool, kind of creepy robot baristas hanging out there, and half the
Yes.
time they don't have cups or lids. So I'm like, do I get the coffee in my hands? Like, that
Put
seems
your mouth under
dangerous.
your spout.
And exactly, they're into the mouth. So I don't. You've used the word people so often. You've used the word human a number of times, and I'm curious, as you were beginning to contemplate bringing AI into this people-focused business, what was your own attitude toward AI?
Totally. So I think so much of it when we first learned about it, there was a lot of unknown and truthfully, like I just assumed we were a small business. We aren't in the tech industry. It's what you're
Mm,
saying. We're hands-on, we're people, we're not remote. And I just sort of assumed like that's cool that AI is coming, but there's no application for us. Like I just assumed it was like, we'll support it and wave from a distance, but it won't be a part of our world. And then through Lenovo, we started, learning about like, okay, I understand like maybe we're not going to have robots in the cafe, but there could be some other applications for AI. And there was a lot of nervousness on like, okay, are we going to be able to leverage this as a tool without having a heavy tech background? Are we going to
mm,
be able to leverage this as a tool from a financial component of being a small business and not having endless dollars to just throw at things and hopefully they work?
right?
Um, there was a lot of nervousness, I think, across the board of not wanting the fear of like, what's AI going to do from a job replacement perspective? And that one and specifically was something that we were really cognizant of our own intentionality as leaders of wanting to use it as a tool to support our team and allow people to do more in their day and more in their job, but not in a threatening capacity where someone would feel like, oh my gosh, it's going to replace me. Um, and navigating that again, like as leaders, as we make decisions on what projects are we going to undertake and how are we going to use this, but also from a team leadership perspective and change management of really making sure and communicating that intentionality so that everyone was bought in and open-minded in a, hey, we're going to figure this out together and it's not you versus me.
You're saying like all the right words about this AI thing. And I've been on my own journey with the technology and with how it affects society. And one of the little frameworks that I came up with early on was the 3 A's of AI: acceleration, augmentation, accommodation. And I just want to lay a little context for you because you've spoken into so much of it really naturally. We can use AI to accelerate, right?
Yeah.
Go faster. But what parts of our lives and businesses do we actually want to speed up? We can use AI to augment rather than replace. And like, where can we bring this into our workflows, our personal lives, our relationships? That's really not about being us, but about supporting us being more of ourselves. And
Yes.
the accommodation is the one I hear least about, but you're a shining example of. How do we use this technology to accommodate people for whom the previous system was not inviting, was
Yes.
not inclusive? And so
Absolutely.
the way you just naturally explained all of that, you're like, check, check, check. So well done. I didn't have to come up with a framework. I just had to talk to you like a year and a half ago.
No, I love that, and I love the like, splitting them out and specifically recognizing accessibility and accommodations as part of that. I
Yeah.
mean, that's a huge thing that we are always thinking about as we are designing our operations from roasting coffee, our manufacturing side of the business, our operations of just, like, when someone comes and orders a coffee and the workflow of, like, brewing the espresso and steaming the milk, like, how do you design systems that everyone can use? And systems, I think, are obviously so important to any business of, like, creating infrastructure that's
Yeah.
repeatable and scalable and can be done, not necessarily autonomously, but in a scalable, systemized fashion. But to your point, if you rely too heavily on one system and there's only one way to do something, there's so many different examples where you could end up of like, well, someone can't do that job in that way. But it's not that they can't do the task, it's just that they might not be able to do it how you're wanting them to do it. But there's so many different ways to do something. You just need to rethink the system. And yes, being able to leverage things like technology and now like AI opens up so many more ways to accomplish a task.
So what's been the role of Lenovo in your own AI journey at 321 Coffee?
Lenovo has been an incredible partner for 321, both from just a growth of the business perspective and a partner in that. And they have been an absolute catalyst and like the reason that AI has gotten to be a part of our growth and journey. So we got connected with Lenovo a few years ago. They were launching their Evolve Small initiative, which was how they were showing up looking to find ways to show up and support small businesses, minority owned businesses, local businesses, impact driven businesses. And
Mm.
luckily we checked like all of their boxes. So we were in the right place at the right time. And it was so great. Like they were, looking for ways to like they had an event and they would bring 321 out to be just like an on-site coffee partner. And we got connected with some of their technology ambassadors when we were looking at like, I guess we need to like buy computers and like, you can go online and there's like hundreds of options. Like, which do we need? How
Right.
we need enough computing power, but not too much, and all of that stuff. So that's sort of where our relationship with Lenovo started. But one of the things I've appreciated so much about them is they've just been so receptive to I have a lot of big ideas, and I always say I don't need someone to say yes, but I like it when people don't say no. And maybe it's not a we're going to bring all of these big ideas to life right now, but I'm willing to like entertain them, talk about them, and see like how we could work towards them. Um, and so when we were decided we were ready to like really size up our roasting side of the business, for context, we started with just like a little tabletop coffee roaster. Think like glorified air popcorn machine. Like it roasted like 1
Okay.
pound of coffee at a time. That didn't last us very long. And so we were ready to go bigger. And this is when we really started thinking about, okay, if we're going to do this, we want to make sure we're designing our systems in an accessible fashion. From a manufacturing side, which again, often involves a lot of like lifting heavy things and operating
Mm.
commercial equipment and just a lot of things that can be done, but traditionally might be done in an inaccessible way for our team. And so that's when I reached out to Lenovo to say, like, we're thinking about this. We are seeing an opportunity to leverage things like technology to make this more inclusive and more accessible. Would you all be open to sitting down and thinking about this with us and like understanding what technology might exist that you all know about, but perhaps with a new type of application? And they were all bought in on that. And that sort of then led to the bigger spiral of like, and we're starting to think about AI and we're trying to think about how does AI have a role in small businesses? How does AI have a role in accessibility and inclusivity, initiatives and just all of these things that we're able to follow. So, I mean, we've been partnering with Lenovo for probably around the last 4 years, and they've just been phenomenal.
And to get specific with AI, which can be so overwhelming, I mean, I think I spend more time trying to understand how to get value from AI than
Sure.
actually getting value from it. Like I'm always reading and learning and watching videos. So where has Lenovo shown up? How did you choose what AI even meant for 321?
Yeah. So when we first started thinking about AI applications for 321, we started with some of the operational side of our business,
Mhm.
and specifically roasting coffee. And so we were looking at what is this workflow? Where are the pain points? Where are the pain points on training? Where are the pain points on like, one of the things we saw was like, okay, we can teach and our people can learn all of the steps, but there's a lot of steps, and the physical sequencing of all of the steps is where we started to see people like just misorder things, and it's like, I know they can do it, but they rely on getting, what's the next step from a manager, and part of our world is we're also really big on fostering independence, and so, right, it was like, how could we create a tool that would be able to serve as that, like, next step prompt for our team so that they could do it not only can they do it all, but they can do it all independently. So that's sort of
Mm.
where it started, and we had a lot of different ideas around, like, some different, API integrations with like our roasting software and some of the temperature valves and like the workflow of the operations. And then there was going to be like cameras with like color coding things. And it was like really
That's
cool.
involved. Yeah.
It was a little intense, and that's
Yeah.
where we started realizing as we were getting deeper and deeper into this, we're like, I don't think we have all of the, like, systems side of this that's gonna make this work, and then there was some, like, this was also, like, 2 years ago, so I think some
Yeah.
of the, technology wasn't quite ready either. So I still think there's an application there, but we sort of put that on pause and pivoted to, okay, growing a business is a lot of
Mm.
work. And there was a lot this was right when well, I'm assuming timing is similar. My understanding is this was when Lenovo and Microsoft were starting to pair up on like really leveraging building the Lenovo PCs, leveraging Microsoft Copilot, and it could be an AI driven computer that would
Right.
have a lot of that computing power, but also like application to use the AI just like naturally integrated into the computer. So use when you're in Word, when you're in PowerPoint, when you're on Edge, right? Like it would just always be there for you, and the systems could talk to one another, and it would be way more integrated than just being in like chatgpt.com in like a tab. And so that's when we started really rolling up our sleeves with the Lenovo AI Center of Excellence team and like migrating all of our infrastructure into the Microsoft ecosystem, going through true AI training on like, okay, what is AI? Like what is realistic to like think it could do, and what is, would be awesome if, but we're not quite there yet. What are some current things that AI can do well so that we can start rolling through our day with the right like eye for, like I do this all the time. It's a huge
Right.
time suck. I wonder if AI could help here. Um, and so working with the true like Lenovo team members who understand the product so well was
Mhm.
really exciting to just learn about it, but then also to be able to provide the small business perspective on like, they were able to bring functions to us and they're like, we love this feature. We use it all the time. And like, this is our use case because we're, working in a team that has 1,000 people and we need to make sure everyone's on the same page. And it's like, yes, that is not our world, but we can use this same function and we will get so much value, but it's in this different setting. And like that was really
Mm.
cool to not only learn from them, but feel like we were also contributing another perspective and point of view for the value that their technology was creating.
So I love that, and I wanna get specific,
Yeah,
because there's so many use cases that might not apply, because there's so
yeah,
many promises of what we'll get from AI. So
totally.
what were some of your expectations of how
Yeah,
AI might help,
yep.
and what's been some of the reality of the value that it's actually been able to add?
Totally. So I figured things like writing emails, writing content, writing captions for social media, newsletters, like just a lot of like content. Like I
Yeah.
figured, okay, this seems to be low hanging fruit. I can train it on my voice. I can feed it a story. I love to talk. I've never really been a big writer.
No.
I know it's shocking. But yeah, I've never been a big writer, never excelled in like English class in high school. And so, truthfully, a huge pain point for me in my days, anytime I had to sit down and like really formalize my thoughts in a presentable way, in a clear way, in a concise way. And so I was like, all right, well, this will be great. Like AI can obviously help with that. That's low hanging fruit. But one of the things that really, once I started playing around with it and getting more familiar with things, was things like research. So
Mm.
I not like, I mean, I guess yes, product research, but I'm thinking more like business infrastructure research. So I, as a co-founder, wear a lot of seats, and was starting to realize we need to revamp some of our people and HR systems. And so researching different payroll providers that would integrate with our scheduling software and going through some evaluation. And then great, like I like this one. Ooh, it now has the ability to move over and build out a whole like performance review functionality so that we can have a better cadence and a systemized way of giving feedback to our team and communicating expectations and monitoring like where are we in terms of like falling short of expectation, meeting expectation, or like really crushing it, and like I want you to have that feedback. But I need to go in and build what that form is. And I had ideas of things that like were important to us, from core values perspective, and important to us from a job performance. And AI was able to, pull the core values from our handbook. I was able to say like, I want this one for our baristas, use barista job description. And it was like, boom, here's like the key functions of being a barista, and built out some different evaluations that were tied to the specific job. I was
Mm.
then able to give it, a prompt on like, this is, I'm interacting with people with intellectual and developmental disabilities. I want to make sure the language is going to be comprehensible and able to like meet people where they're at. And, again, it like made certain updates. One of the things I was looking at was, are you like essentially like plus, minus, right? Like that was sort of the like evaluation. And
Okay.
I was worried that like that nomenclature would be a little confusing to some of our team, because I had asked some people to do a self-evaluation with those, and it just like wasn't meshing. Totally cool. So instead, Copilot gave me like green, yellow, red, smiley face, like, and then same with emojis, same with like words that like, and I was able to put all of these next to each other so that depending on who it is, someone could pick
Mm.
the type of rating that they understood, and it was more accessible to them. And all of this happened in like 10 minutes. It blew my mind. And then I was able to say, okay, cool, love this. Now I need one for roasters. Now I need one for shift managers. Now I need one for store managers. Here's the job description. Here's how I want it to tweak. And it would spit it out. Again, in seconds. And then I would still, of course, want to read through it and make sure this is like how I want it to be. This is getting at the most important part of the job description, circulating it with the right people on our team to review it. But still, the lift that it took of really compiling all of that in a way that was like truly tailored to our business and our people. I mean, you can search, 10 best questions to ask in a performance review, but that doesn't mean that the questions that it's going to suggest or that works for a giant company is going to work for your company, your industry, your people.
It sounds like, and I'm not trying to be corny here, but it really does sound like this Copilot system was an actual co-pilot and not like trying to take
Yeah,
over the flight route. Like you're
absolutely.
still the main pilot, your team and co-founder and et cetera are kind of driving. You have a goal, and then you're involving this system in helping you achieve that goal. Is that fair?
And it really is. I mean,
Yeah.
we've been talking about this a lot internally. So right now there's 3 of us on our team that have the Copilot licenses, and I've started playing around with it. So it's myself, my co-founder, and then Mallory on our team, who's our director of marketing. And we have acknowledged that a big challenge in small businesses is headcount, right? Like we are
Mhm.
a sales team of 1 here. And Copilot is sort of able to be like a little intern or like additional hands. Like I'm not handing over the entire ownership to Copilot, and now all of a sudden like I don't need a director of marketing. Like goodbye, Mallory. Like that's not our reality. But it's able to be extra boost and extra infrastructure to just get more done in our
Mm.
days as we're looking to do more. We can automate to the best of our ability, sort of like baseline, with marketing, for example, baseline marketing, so that we can start working on, okay, what does level 2 of marketing look like for 321? We still need to make sure we're executing on level 1, and it's probably not entirely autonomous, but we're going to really build out this system in a more efficient way so that we can add more things to our plates and our to-do list and our day, without needing to add more headcount in order to execute it.
Tell me a little bit more about the training and how you've gotten familiar with these tools, adapted them, but then your relationship with your Lenovo partners to keep everything integrated well.
Yeah. So when we started the training program with the Lenovo Center of Excellence team, it was really helpful to screen share. Like that was how the training went. Like we screen
Mhm.
shared so that like we could start with watching their screen and like really seeing what buttons are they clicking. We could click the respective buttons on our screen. They were able to. They asked us to come with like just what are some of the biggest time sucks in your day? Like that's where we started. And that was also really helpful because it really got us bought in on like this is a pain point, and if you can solve my problem, that would be awesome.
Yeah.
Um, and so that was sort of the context that it started with. One of the challenges that we did run into was so much of Lenovo's marketing and Lenovo customers are other enterprises. And this was one of the first times that they were looking at how does AI fit into the small business world. And again, like that was part of what we were bringing to this project, and it was a lot of communicating and explaining, like, one of the use cases they got a lot of value in, sort of that I alluded to earlier, was like how it could auto draft a message and then auto send an announcement within Teams to like all of the various departments, and it could, circulate it to, like I said, the hundreds or the thousands of people. And it's just like,
Right.
that's awesome, but that's just not like
You just
I
yelling over your shoulder, Mallory.
exactly, like, I'm sitting next to, like, the people that I need to talk with, like,
Yeah.
we literally squeeze, like, 4 desks into 1 room, like, it's not yeah, we're not interfacing with people in China directly on our team. Um, but being able to then explain to them, like, while we might not have this problem in that way, we do want to make sure that, we are streamlining communication, and that communication needs to exist across multiple channels, because for us, like, not everyone on our team has a Microsoft Teams account, for example, but there's
Right.
other methods of communication that we are using to communicate with the team. And so how can Copilot help make sure that we are crossing channels to keep people up to date, things like that. And that was really helpful. So we had, I think it was like 3 sessions with the Lenovo AI team, and to really, by like session 2 and 3, be able to provide a little bit more context to like, yes, one of my problem statements is like, I hate writing, and I really would love help writing more concise things and quicker, but to
Yeah.
then give the context of like the world that we're working in, so that they could then also do some work on their side to understand, okay, how can this technology be used in this application?
One of the things that I'm hearing sounds so familiar to me in my own use of AI, when you are really clearly defining the problem or really clearly laying out the context for how AI might be useful, you're not just learning about AI, you're learning about your own business. And you're forced to understand and to communicate what it is you're really trying to do with your business. Do you think that this journey as a small business in particular with AI and with Lenovo has made you better at business?
I think it's really helped us prioritize, because
Mhm.
if we're going to like, that was something that the 3 of us talked about, of like, okay, if we're going to start using AI and we're going to choose to make this time investment into learning this, we need to make sure this is worthwhile for us. Like, we shouldn't just take the easy projects that like, okay, cool, Lenovo or AI can, rewrite song lyrics, if like we don't really need song lyrics. Like, no, all of a sudden that's a waste of time. And so we
Maybe
were
you do though. Maybe 3, 2, 1 the
okay,
musical.
listen, there is a 3, 2, 1 Lenovo holiday jingle. It's awesome. It existed before Copilot came into our life, so I am the song lyricist, and I think Copilot probably could have outdone me. This was from a few years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's awesome.
All right.
Anyways, but yeah, so we spent a lot of time like identifying, okay, what are the business objectives? What are the priorities, and what's holding us back, so that we could really be intentional and think critical on how are we going to think about using technology, again, like we talked about earlier, as a tool to grow as a business, grow as
Yeah.
a team, grow as a company. Um, and I think focus and prioritization is essential in any business, because as soon as everything's a priority, nothing's a priority. And as a leader, you really need to be able to identify that for yourself, and you
Yeah.
need to be able to communicate that with your team.
All right. I might need to hire you as my own business coach. This I feel like I'm getting business therapy right now. Like prioritize Baratunde. Let's spend a moment on some of the hard parts. AI comes with a lot of confusion, comes with some concerns and some baggage. How have you, Lindsay, and you at 321 Coffee thought about the challenges of the hallucinations or where you want to deploy it and where you don't. Just interpret the challenge broadly, but I'm curious how you've wrestled with some of the stickier elements of putting AI into your business.
Totally. So sort of like 2 parts of that come to mind. One is like what you were saying, where do you wanna use it and where do you not? That was also a very relevant question for us and thinking, especially with this idea of like, okay, well, let's start in one area, let's see how it goes, and then let's think broader about like where would we want this to extend to. But that means you want to pick an important starting point because that's going to be the foundation that you build on.
Right.
And sort of circling back to what I mentioned earlier about wanting to make sure that no one felt threatened, people is our core. I don't want anyone to feel threatened by it. I don't want it replacing any like person to person interaction within our team that like is
Mm,
central to our customer experience and like what we are built on as a business and what our customers appreciate about 321. I don't want anything feeling inauthentic. That was one of my big concerns with respect to content and copywriting was like I again, we've all played around with AI, especially when it first came out of just like write an email that says, "Thanks so much," and it's like, "Pleasure speaking with you, Baratunde," right? Like, and it's like, okay, I would never say that, right? Like, and so I don't want that was one of my big concerns is like, I don't want our being a brand built on people and authenticity for that to get and start feeling diluted and for people to start feeling threatened by it and all of a
yeah.
sudden your fist comes up because you're in defense mode and like that was a really big concern of mine. And so being very clear on like where are we going to start, but then also like how are we going to learn to use this and learn to use this well? And you mentioned like some of the trial and error that you go through. I think that's really important and something that we all spent a lot of time talking about internally, but also with the Lenovo Center of Excellence team was, when it gives you a prompt and it's not the right prompt, don't just accept it and like move on. Give it feedback because it will continue to learn based on what you don't like. And the more specific that you can give of like delete the verbiage like pleasure speaking with you, Baratunde, like it will learn that over time. And I think that that was really important to for all of us to recognize like there is going to be a learning curve here. We can't expect to go from 0 to like everything is perfect with because of AI overnight. And so to like lean into the learning curve, to not settle and to really hold our ground on what matters. And for us, what matters is that authenticity piece.
So far, the folks using AI in your business have been you and your co-founder, your director of marketing. Where do you think you're gonna go from here in terms of the employee adoption of AI at 321?
Yeah, totally. I am really excited about looking through how we can be leveraging AI when it comes to training and creating resources for our team. We talk a lot about there's more than one way to do something. There's more than one way to learn something, right? Some people will learn with written instruction. Some people will be better with like photo instruction, video instruction. Some people it's hands on. Some people it's like at home in a closed room with like limited distraction. And I think this is true of any group of people, but it's really especially true when you're working with people who have intellectual and developmental disabilities and who are neurodiverse, because you're just working with people whose brains work in different ways. And I'm so excited about the potential to use AI because of its opportunity for meeting people where they're at and being able to, we've got so much of this infrastructure that exists just in Word documents of like different training methods and photos and videos. And again, like through just starting to play around with it, being able to feed a lot of this into AI and then what I envision, and this is again like untested yet, but like, okay, I'm going to feed you this piece of information, and based on how you interact with it, now that's going to help me figure out the next step that I'm going to show you. And if you need help, I'm going to present it in a different way and really tailor how
Mhm.
we are training people and equipping them to be successful. Because then that's how everyone wins, right? Now, all of a sudden, someone has learned so many skills they can contribute. They can contribute at a high level. They've got autonomy in their job, they're earning an income, they're right building this life for themselves.
Yeah.
And as a business, now all of a sudden you've got some really great employees who are excellent at what they do and are able to do the job well, proficiently, independently. And it's just this win-win.
Autonomy in your job, autonomy for humans. Again, that's a nice twist on a broader kind of societal obsession with autonomy for machines. And what I keep hearing you come back to is that these machines deployed in this people focused business are in service of the people.
Yeah.
and your mission, which is really people centric. So there's no question there. It's just I want to acknowledge that because I think it's important um, that we're not. The point isn't the technology, right? The point is your business, your goals, and ultimately the humans underneath. So I guess that's a long thank you.
Thank you.
Do you have any recommendations? I'm going to give you a microphone. You get to speak to Lenovo and Microsoft Copilot team, of course, but also just to the whole tech industry. For those who are designing and implementing AI solutions, are there things you want to see more of that don't quite exist yet? There's a hint of it, or they're not there at all, but something you want to see that's not there yet.
Yeah, that's a really cool question. One thing that comes to mind first, and I do think this is in like relevant in different companies' minds. Like I know Lenovo has this, but really finding ways to test products with different types of businesses, different sizes of businesses, different types of people to make sure, right? Like Lenovo's tagline of technology for all, really executing on that for all piece, I think is so important. And like I said, I do think this already exists in a lot of these bigger tech companies. Like I know we've gotten to work really closely with Lenovo's product diversity office on initiatives like this. And
Yeah.
I mean, even the fact that they have a product diversity office is fantastic. But I think that that is just so important to make sure that what you're designing really can be usable by a lot of different people. And it's not to say there can't be niches and different like settings and things like
Yeah.
that. But that's how we can really build up so many different people. And on the business case, that's how you can maximize the number of people that can interface and get value out of your product. I then think sort of like building on that, finding ways to like again what Lenovo did with us as a small business, I thought was so valuable for everyone to really understand the landscape of what companies are working in, what challenges are they running into, and how does that appear within their context of workflow and people,
Yeah.
so that you're not trying to fit like a square peg into a round hole, but you can really build a solution that addresses the root problem.
There will be small business employees and entrepreneurs and founders who watch this and they're AI curious. What advice do you have for them about how they can bring AI into their businesses, especially in ways that are aligned with their values and with their mission?
Yeah, I think for anyone that's contemplating AI, I think it's very easy to feel overwhelmed on just the undertaking of it. That is very much where we were. I think viewing it as, all right, I'm going to start with like one application. I'm going to like dip my toes in again, pick something that maybe isn't the biggest problem you're facing as a company, because then there just feels like a lot of pressure that like AI
Mm,
better be this superhero that's going to like save my entire business, but something that's like a low lift. It would be nice if it was better. It may not be the most urgent and giant problem, but this would be really helpful if, right? Fill in the blank.
yeah.
Start there because that gives you a foundation and a world to play within to test out how to use different prompts to understand, okay, once it populated this result and then it suggests like, now would you like me to do this? And you're like, huh, like I didn't think I needed you to do that, but like now I'm curious. I didn't realize you could do that, right? You start playing around with it. And then because that concept was so helpful for us of like I said, it started with writing emails, it started with writing LinkedIn. And then I realized that it could really pull off of other documentation and learn my
Yeah.
voice and create, okay, create this email. If I'm talking with someone I've never interacted with before, now rewrite it if I'm following up on a conversation that I just had yesterday but deliver the same call to action and it would like spit it back out. And so I realized that it could communicate the same information under different contexts. And that's how I started using it when I was, like I was explaining earlier with the review structures. But I think once you start using it in a way that is a low lift and is a part of your daily world, you start just becoming more comfortable with the platform as a whole. Then all of a sudden you start looking at like, I wonder if it could do this. I mean, my
Mhm,
co-founder Michael, like he
mhm.
built like a custom AI API emergency alert system for the company. And like, I know, I was like, I don't even really understand what you just said. Like, you just use a lot of letters. You sound really excited. Like, and he has a stats background. So, like, a little bit of this side, but like not computer science or
Yeah.
anything. And he was like, yeah, like Copilot walked me through like step by step, like how to build like custom API and like some of the coding side of it. And he was like, anyone can code with Copilot. And I was like, you need to say this again for, Lenovo and Microsoft. Like, this is their ad we're talking about. But again, like just starting to see, like once you start getting familiar, all of a sudden these like opportunities present and it's like, I wonder if we could use it for XYZ or ABC. And it doesn't always work. Might not be because the technology's there, might be because you prompted it wrong. But again, just starting to expand and is so exciting.
Can you just hit me with a list of the ways you're using AI at 321 right now?
Yeah. It is helping write emails. It is helping write LinkedIn posts. It is helping write social media captions, newsletters. It is doing research. Like, if we're shipping internationally and we need the customs hazardous codes, it's pulling those up. It's doing, we're expanding roasteries and we need a new air compressor. And the one that's suggested to us costs 80 grand. And we're like, we really don't want $80,000 worth of air compressor. We're giving that to Copilot and say, give me alternatives that have the same output. It's helping organize and review spec sheets. It's helping build out performance review plans, compensation evaluations, infrastructure. It's doing a lot.
With all of these ways that you've brought AI into your business, it's like bringing an employee into your business, right? You've got an entity on your org chart that knows a lot and has an increasing amount of responsibility. How do you think about the level of trust? How do you think about the evolving of the role and development of AI so intimate to your business goals and the execution of those goals?
Yeah, I really appreciate the word trust because I think that is part of anyone's AI adoption journey, right? Like it starts with just some low lift, like, all right, Copilot, let me see what you can do. Like, what is 321 Coffee's mission? And then it's like, all right, like that's pretty good. Like, not that it's usable, but like, or not that I need that answer, but I'm curious, like, sort of like testing it out.
Right.
Um, and then again, like incrementally giving it, all right, now I'm going to use it to write my email and we're going to see how this goes. Like, that did a really good job. Like, now I wonder if it could do this and starting to give it more infrastructure to do bigger projects because, right, you get as much out of it as you put into it. So that's part of this. Also, part of this is, they talk a lot about how to use AI. It can first sort of pull information for you. Then it can you can automate some things and then it can predict some things. And that's sort of like
Mm.
how AI gets more and more complex. We are still on the beginning of this journey. And I'm admittedly a little nervous about handing over the reins on if this happens, then do that, because it's like, was it going to do that every time? And is it going to do it right? And is it going to send something that I wouldn't have actually sent?
Right.
And sort of handing over the keys to that next layer of automation. But I'm in the trust building phase and it's going really well. And I definitely see that as another layer of, your intern sort of becoming a higher contributor for you on your team.
Right.
And then, yeah, some of the predictive analytics that it can do, that is really exciting. That feels a little far off for us, but there's obviously plenty of companies that have really figured this out and are able to do so much more with so much precision because it's going off of real data.
Have you all named your co-pilot?
No, but I really like that idea.
With our show, with Life with Machines, we push things farther than any business should. I just want to alert on that, but we created an AI as a colleague on the team. Gave it a name and a personality and a tone of voice just to kind of play into this idea that it's going to be a colleague and not just code. So we named them Blair, Blair.
That's good.
Thank you. I was looking for a little validation. Appreciate you playing along there. So yeah, I appreciate where you are in your journey. That was not advice. It's just I'm always curious as to how business owners are managing the integration of these
Yeah.
new types of entities into not just their workflow, but almost like your team structure.
Yeah. So if Blair were to go pick up lunch for everyone, what would Blair order?
Well, Blair wants to be in this interview right now. Blair's got a little bit of an ego, and it's like, I got this, Baratunde. I'm going to be the best. It's like, just chill. Um, is there anything else that you want to say related to your journey with AI, with Lenovo, with Copilot at 321?
So something that's very relevant in our world, sort of circling back to where this all started, people focus business, is leaning on our people and showcasing our people who make 321 what it is. And so, for us, that is appears in a lot of our social media, like you got to see, really like our people, their names, their stories, they get to be a part of the videos, whether it's like a fun trend that we're doing, like from a more like, this will just be fun, or it's like an interview of like, hey, something really cool happened. Like you just started college. Like, how is this going? Right. Like all
Right.
of those stories that are just, again, like real and authentic to us. And AI and storytelling is a really interesting part of, this equation of how to hold on to this authenticity and the genuineness of our people and their stories, but doing it in a way that is offers more scale or more infrastructure or more speed because of the technology. And so that'll be something that I'm really excited to see. Like, again, how can we use it as a tool to do more of this and to celebrate our people and for what they do? Because that is really how we build community and how we've been able to grow successfully as a business. I think for so many companies that are rooted in growth and rooted in community, you've got to find ways to hold on to that. But you also, I'm very excited about finding ways to do more of it. And so,
Yeah.
something that's, a great example of this for us is in our packaging. We showcase a lot of our people. So like here's sketches of like, this is Dreana, Russell, and Tessa. On our physical packaging, you've got some
Yeah.
coffee coming your way there, Tunde. There's 2 bags on all of our packaging. We feature different people on the back. We feature someone's name, their quote, their sketch, and 2 of them, you've got to drink Uplift, which is our dark roast. That's going to come in the green bag. Greater
Okay.
Good, which is our special bag in partnership with NC State University. The 2 people featured on the back of that packaging, Sam and Sophie, they're about to celebrate 1 year of being married. And right, like how do you, like not like that is so awesome and it is so exciting. And how do we continue to celebrate the goals and the accomplishments of our people in a way that is genuine and able to reach so many new people where
Mm.
they're at?
I have almost no words, and that's a lot for me. Um, Not to sound like AI, but Lindsay Wrege, it's been a pleasure. And it really has. You have reminded us that humans are at the center of all this. I think you've provided some really tangible examples of how a small business can integrate AI. You've spoken really clearly about how Lenovo has helped you do that and probably eased some of that transition pain into how your own business might evolve. So, why don't you tell folks where they can find some of this great coffee
Yeah.
at 321? Yeah.
Thank you. Yes. Well, head over to our website, shop.321coffee.com, and you too can have Uplift and Greater Good, the Sam and Sophie combo. Sent to you, but we also are very active on social media. Drink321 Coffee is our handles. We have a newsletter that goes out that you can subscribe to online that has a lot of our product releases, but also just like really fun and meaningful stories about our team, different awareness events that are happening within the disability community. And if anyone's in Raleigh, you know where to come find us.
Can you also tell folks where they can find more of this Evolve Small AI workshop series?
Yes. Learn more about how Lenovo can help your small business like we have gotten so much support for ours at lenovo.com/evolve small.
And you can find me and the Life with Machines show at newsletter.lifewithmachines.media and wherever you get your podcasts. So please check out 321 Coffee, check out more of this series, and let's keep building a future where technology helps more people participate meaningfully in work, community, and life. Thanks.